How's your spelling? Mine's not great. It's not terrible, but it's also not great at all. So here are 5 commonly misspelt words. In fact, actually 4 commonly misspelt words, and one which I misspelled, and then when I told someone I know that I can't spell it, they could not believe me. It's terrible. Remember to like and subscribe. We should go through some definitions first of all. We're going to remember these words in 3 different ways. First of all, a mnemonic, that's how you say that word. Now I've got to remember how to spell mnemonic. I'd say, how do you spell that, Gran? And she'd be like, look it up in the dictionary. But I can't spell it. How can I find it? Especially, it's MN, isn't it? MN. M-N-O, Mohican, Mixton, Mineralizer. I'm going the wrong way. Come on. Mnemonic is an adjective. 1. Intended to aid the memory, pertaining to mnemonics. 2. Of or pertaining to memory. 1825. Mnemonics, by the way, comes from the Greek word for memory, which was like mnemonic, I think. It's got a bit on the end, maybe a Greek bit. So what I mean by all that is some kind of rhyme or some kind of thing that sort of helps you remember how to do something. Examples. Oh, here's one. Actually, I just remembered one. Richard of York gave battle in vain. That's how you remember all of the rainbow colours. So red, indigo, blue, Richard, red, orange. You understand. The second way we're going to remember is through an acrostic. Now, an acrostic is a type of poem, or basically it's Greek, meaning line of verse. A short poem, etc., in which the initial, the last, or the middle letters of the lines, or all of them taken in order, spell a word, phrase, or sentence, and thus form a single or double or triple acrostic. So a good example might be, in 1829, Edgar Allan Poe wrote an acrostic and simply titled it An Acrostic. Anyway, the poem reads, Elizabeth, it is in vain you say, love not. Thou sayest it in so sweet a way. In vain those words from thee, or L-E-L, Xantip. You get the idea. Each line begins with the letter which then spells out Elizabeth. And then the third way is we're going to find words within words. So an example of this would be, well, we'll go into that. So we'll find a word within the word that we're trying to spell that will then help us remember how to spell it. Does that make sense? Necessary is a word that I don't think anybody knows how to spell, and if you claim how to spell it, then I think you're a liar. But I'm about to tell you how to do it, so then you won't be a liar anymore. I'm not a liar. So the mnemonic we're going to learn for necessary is 1 collar, 2 sleeves. So you have 1 collar and 2 sleeves, or if it's a shirt, it'll be down here probably, unless you've rolled it up, and then it'll be up here like this. So basically we can learn from that. There's 1 collar, so 1 C and 2 S's. So necessary will always have 1 C and 2 S's. I've come up with an acrostic for this one because I've seen other acrostics and I just thought they weren't very good, so I made one up, and that one is never ever celebrate epic sandy sandwiches and rancid yogurt. That's how you can spell it, with the beginnings of the words of those that it's not, I mean, it wasn't a poem, was it? I mean, it was free verse, I guess. And the word that we can find within necessary is cess, as in cesspit. So C-E-S-S, and that gives you the very core of the word necessary, C-E-S-S. And if we're going to have a mnemonic to go with that, we're going to say cesspits are necessary for an orderly farm. There you go, there's a sentence that everybody needs. Conscience. Not everybody has it. We live in times, it's getting so political, so edgy. Anyway, it's a tricky word to spell because you sort of want to go conscience, so you want to sort of stick some O's and U's in there, but actually it's really easy to spell once you know how. So it is con, C-O-N, and science, the word science. The mnemonic we're going to remember is conscience is the science of right from wrong, which of course it's not, because that would be ethics or morality, which of course are not sciences. So, but we're going to go with that. Conscience is the science of right from wrong. So that's your mnemonic. What about your acrostic? Well, I had to sit down and do this one myself because I couldn't find one online that I either liked or thought was any good. So I've come up with conscience often notifies scientific calm, imposing even nuance, commanding empathy. Now, if you can remember that over the fact that it has the word science in it, then good luck. Well done. You're way better than me, because remember that it has science in it is way easier than that stupid mnemonic, acrostic, that stupid acrostic that I've come up with. So finally, we have the word within a word, and that of course is the one that we've already talked about, which is science. And I've already sort of given you a mnemonic for that one, but here's a better mnemonic. Science needs conscience, because of course it does. Otherwise, it's science run amok. It's Frankenstein and it's nuclear physics or something. I'm just so tired all the time. Why am I so tired all the time? Exaggerate is an extremely difficult word to spell because, well, the way that you say it implies that it might have a D in it, but it doesn't. It's got two G's, and I just always think that that's really odd. I just think exaggerate. That's how I remember it, by the way. I have to spell it out and sort of sound it out in my mind. But we're going to look at some other ways. Now, I found a mnemonic online and I had to look it up because I didn't know what it meant. Now, if you're into horses, you might know what GG is. Now, apparently, G'ing up a horse, as in asking it to go faster, encouraging it to go faster, is a word which has been used since the 17th century. But I didn't know that because I don't know anything about horses, it appears. Anyway, the mnemonic is, he exaggerated the speed of his horse, it was a slow GG. And then that just reminds you that there's two G's right in the middle of it, which I suppose is helpful. The acrostic that I found online is not something which I thought was particularly helpful, but I mean, I suppose the problem with a lot of these online acrostics is that they have the first two letters of one of the words and then like one letter from another word, and I suppose that's not how my memory works. So I need one letter per word, not like 2 or 3 letters, and then I sort of work it out from there. Anyway, the one that's online is extravagant aggregate George erecting another tiny elephant. And that makes literally no sense. So I've come up with one of my own. And my one is, although you'll have to forgive me because the X sound, of course, is always a Z in English unless it's an X-ray. So the word that I've used is xylophone for the X, which is a word that when I worked in a call centre was often what people would use for the letter Z. They would say, Z for xylophone, which always made me sort of laugh a little bit, but then I felt a little bit superior and I didn't want to make fun of them because it made me feel bad, because I just thought, well, they don't know. What's the problem with that? Well, here I am to teach you that xylophone begins with X. And how do you tell a xylophone from a glockenspiel? Well, xylo means wood in Greek. That's how you remember. Xylo means wood in Greek. I always think glockenspiel, because of the way it sounds, should be the wooden one. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. So the one I came up with is extra xylophones and glowing gorillas and raving athletes table embrace. You into that? I'm into that. It gives me a very clear idea of xylophones and glowing gorillas, and they're getting rid of athletes because they're having a table embrace, which is apparently inappropriate. There are no words contained within exaggerate, so I mean there's rate at the end, R-A-T-E. It doesn't really tell you that there are two G's in the middle of it. It doesn't give you any kind of help, unlike cess in necessary. So I'm going to have to leave that one. I've actually put a question mark there, and if you've got a suggestion, you can put it in the comments. There you go. There's the interactive bit for the algorithm. Our fourth word is rhythm, which is a word that I really struggle to spell, and apparently a lot of other people don't struggle to spell it. And this isn't the worst one, by the way. There's another word which I really struggle to spell, which is incredibly obvious to everybody else, apparently. That's the next one. But let's do rhythm first. So rhythm, for me, it just has too many vowel sounds in it. Anyway, so the mnemonic and the acrostic are sort of the same thing, really. So a good mnemonic, which also happens to be an acrostic, is rhythm helps your two hips move. It's a good one, isn't it? And then there are clearly no other words in the word rhythm, because there aren't. So moving swiftly on, this last word is embarrassing. You've already seen it on the screen, and I always want to spell it with a GHT for some reason. I don't know why that is, but I always want to put FLOGHT or FLOUGHT. Maybe I'm thinking of yachts or something. I don't know, but it's. I told someone that recently and they just laughed just wholeheartedly and pointed at me. It was embarrassing, but kind of funny. We've all got blind spots when it comes to spelling. In fact, we've all got blind spots in all sorts of different things. So, you know, just go easy, all right? I mean, tell me what your blind spots are in the comments. Anyway, I remember how to spell this now because I just say float like a boat, and boat and float are both spelt the same way. So that's your mnemonic. What about an acrostic? So an acrostic in this case would be flying luggage often acts terribly. I quite like that one. I'm quite proud of that one. And then, of course, the tricky bit, which I always found tricky, I can remember by saying the word oat. So O-A-T, right at the end of the word there. And then we can remember that by saying a boat that floats full of oats. Did I sound particularly West Country then? I think I probably did. Who cares? So there you go. There's 5 words that you can now spell because I've told you how to spell them. Don't say you don't ever get anything useful on this channel. I mean, you probably don't, but hopefully it's entertaining, or vice versa. Hopefully you get something useful and it's sort of just on the right side of not irritating. Either way, like and subscribe, like I said at the beginning of the video, because it really does help me make more. And go and do something nice for yourself. Maybe go and get an ice cream. It's now autumn, isn't it? So go and get a nice warm jumper for when those first leafy days. That's nice, isn't it? Get yourself a nice warm jumper. I do love a nice warm jumper. Anyway, take care of yourselves. See you next time.